Today we have Adam Farfan, who is a groomsman at my wedding in Hawaii and a very close friend. I've known him for a very long time. He used to work with my wife at Transamerica, but his history and background is very, very unique because he was a hustler since he was a very young age. When he was 16 years old, he was selling so much insurance plans that he was making $500,000 a year. Now, when you're selling insurance and you're under 18 years old, you actually are not even doing it legally. So he had to do it underneath a broker. And then he eventually created his own business, his own insurance company. Recently, he sold 10% of that insurance company for $10 million, and he's building a new insurance company as well. He is somebody who has great networking skills. Within Los Angeles alone, he has networked within the top inner circles of the Hollywood Hills, is most elite, and is somebody who has other unique experiences in terms of his life. He has created everything from some kind of a modeling agency in Utah to multi-level network and marketing training. And he's somebody who has a great amount of life experience in terms of massive amounts of challenges in his personal life, his childhood history, and overcoming barriers and mindsets that most people would not be able to survive. So Adam, thanks for joining us here today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So I'd love to talk to you first of all about what you view as those things that are most important for people that are trying to become a successful salesman, because you're not just a businessman. In terms of sales, you've accomplished a lot because you're able to sell people and connect with people on a very deep and quick level. I've seen you do it with beautiful women. I've also seen you do it in the business world. And I'd love to hear you talk about how you do that, how you develop that connection, and how you really develop that sales skill set.
I think the biggest thing for me when I first started is the fact that I never had a lick of sales training, but if there was one thing that I knew that I had to have was actually conviction, believe in what I did. And I think the number one thing that people need to do when it comes to any product that they want to go ahead and sell or any sort of service that they have is they have to have full conviction of what they're offering people. And they have to know that the value that they're bringing, it's going to be something that definitely would change their lives drastically. For me, when I first started in the business, I bought into this concept that financial tools and strategies would help people better their lives in every way, shape, and form. So for me, when I was talking to people, even if they were twice my age, or there were people that were already financially, sound, or they were already ready to, my products or my strategies would actually take them to the next level myself. So therefore, with that conviction and that belief, that inner thing that I had within me, I knew that I could sell anything, I could talk to anybody, and I would be able to go ahead and just literally walk and push my way through the door in any scenario, whether it was through in my dating life, same things that I applied, because of the fact that I knew the kind of value that I would bring into their lives, to even women that I was dating myself. So therefore, it was those same values, those core values that actually helped me be successful in business for myself.
As a 16-year-old though, getting started so young, how did you actually develop that mindset?
You borrow the belief. So there's people out there that will definitely, for example, for me, one of the huge things was actually having that people in my life that I knew or did better things than I did, right? So the one thing that I knew how to be was definitely very, very coachable. So if there was a guy that was successful, more successful than I was, and this person had the things that I wanted, well, there wasn't going to be really a time where I was going to question them or question their intentions with me or question whether they were in the right place or saying the right things to me. So therefore, I was kind of like blind faithed. In fact, a few months ago, I asked my mentor for the first time ever, this is my first millionaire mentor that I got at the age of 18. I said to him, what was the number one reason why you think I succeeded more than most people that you know? And he kind of looks at me and he says to me, you were just dumb and naive. You were just dumb and naive to believe you could be somebody. And I'll tell you this, I feel like right now, there's way too many people that want to outsmart the system, that want to go ahead and find shortcuts, that want to go ahead and reinvent the wheel. But if you just have a simple system, we already know the systems work. It's people that fail. So therefore, what I was very, very good at is following a model, following a system, and then after years later, just pretty much like personalized my own strategies, which took my success to a whole new level.
I guess a lot of people will find mentors, but they don't listen to what they say.
Yep.
And the reason why is because what you always preach about is most of them don't know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Now you were fortunate, I guess, that you ran into those people that were the right mentors early on when you were a 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
But at the same time, I don't believe the mentors alone are the people that repel you. You had to have the hustle, the work ethic,
Yep.
and put things together. And you kind of like blindly followed that belief. I remember when I first met you, you were telling me that, hey Nick, I'm only making like $500,000 a year from this, and then I'm making like a few $100,000 from that. I feel like I'm so far behind on things.
Right.
I'm kind of out of touch with things. I think that's just, so many of the people that you were hanging out with were just really successful
Right.
and making a lot of money. So I guess what you were doing is you're modeling those people that were successful. Now, some of the things that you were talking about modeling was developing that mindset and being coachable and following their systems.
Right.
What were the other things that you're trying to model and figure out and then follow as their roadmap to you?
I'll tell you this, there's 4 things that I tell everybody that they need to do in order to be successful. These are 4 things that were core things that were not negotiable that I talk to people about, and it's, believe it or not, it's very 4 simple things that it sounds like it's a very simple thing, but it's actually not. And one of them would be coachability, where if you're, if somebody that knows what they're doing tells you how to do it and tells you what to do, you follow it until you're done. The second thing would be desire. The reason why desire is important is because of the fact that you will have some frustrations before it's all said and done. You will go through struggles, but if you have a desire that's huge, then you could go ahead and really plow through any crap that you go through it while you're building a business. The third one would be definitely attitude. See, you cannot be in being negative. You cannot be complaining about stuff. You cannot really be, being like the rest of them, which is the reason why most people don't win. And the fourth thing, which was the biggest thing for me, is environment. I'm a byproduct of my environment. I've always known who to listen to. I've always known who to take advice from. And when it comes to like even my own personal life, like you said, even though I had this mentors. See, I wasn't with my mentors 24/7. Right, you could only be with a mentor for so long. But see, when I would go back home, if I was in a negative environment or if I had friends that were not doing the things that they needed to do, then what I would do is I would actually separate myself from them. I would go ahead and pretty much pull myself away because of the fact that I knew that they were not going to the same places that I was. So therefore, if it didn't serve me, if it didn't got me to the next level, then I wasn't going to go ahead and mess around with it. So it was a combination of just being really just taking that atmosphere and kind of modeling it in my own personal life too.
Now, what are the things that you have done to take this business skill that you develop in terms of sales and hustling and put it in your personal life? And what are the results you've gotten from it?
A lot of the things that I used to teach people were things that I knew that I didn't really have myself, right? See, a lot of times what a lot of people don't know is that it's not so much where you're at, but it's where you're headed, right? Some people get into the financial world and they're like, how am I going to teach people about finance if I don't even have my own finances together? Right? Well, the reality of it is that it's not where you're at, it's where you're headed. And for myself, when I was talking about these products that sounded so beautiful, I started with very, very little myself, right? I knew that I had to be kind of like a prophet. I had to kind of like teach people and do what I taught people myself, where I kind of became a product of product. But the one thing that I did is that whatever things I taught people to do in a big level, even though I couldn't do it at that level, I would go ahead and start small, to the point where I came to a point in my life where I have no need for credit cards. I have no need for credit, right? I'm self-banked. I don't have a credit card to my name right now. I'm fully funded, and I don't have to ever ask for money from anybody ever again in my life. And a lot of it, I would tell you that it's 99% of it is mentality. In fact, I tell my team right now, I tell my organization that we're not in the financial business, we're in the mental business, right? We are 99% of it, it's mentality. So therefore, the same things that I've learned from it, all I've done is I've 10x that mentality, I've 10x those programs, I've 10x those strategies to being able to go out and create myself, one of the largest networks in the world. I'm able to go ahead and really have freedom with my life of the things that I want to do and be able to go ahead and teach others. And I'll tell you this, the one thing that makes you, when you have money or when you have that stability or that financial credential, the thing that makes you have is you walk tall. And it gives you confidence in every aspect of your life. That's why I love what you're doing right now, because of the fact that your financial life really ties into so many other things in people's lives that most people don't understand how big it really is.
Yeah, I was talking to Tucker Max about how he believes that in the future technology is going to be obsolete and the only job for everyone is going to be relationships, because that's going to be the technology that everyone has to study, because student systems will be automated with the power of social media and internet technologies and new technologies continually being developed. The only one thing that will keep us grounded is our relationships. Now, one of the things that you kind of developed within your business, not just in like your social circle, but also mostly in your network business, more network marketing, and in building that internally within insurance, is that you train people who train people who train people to do a job. Now, how are you able to do that successfully when you don't have the people that you're actually training at the bottom?
Right. The only way that something like this works is by systems. The guy that trained me was an original architect of a particular training system, and I'm actually now one of the 5 guys in the world that knows this training system on how to build these companies, which is the reason why I've done it so successfully. But it goes back down to, without systems, you couldn't ever have the right training for people. You couldn't ever really like multiply yourself. You couldn't ever do that. So therefore, what I have is a duplicatable business format system where if people just follow these guidelines from the beginning, step by step, I know they'll be successful. So right now, that's exactly what we have with our company right now. We started an academy called academyforchampions.com, and with this particular training system, they follow step by step of what they need to do, from building their networks, maximizing their skills, bringing IO psychology into the business. We have so many things. It's pretty much like having your business lift up in a box. So as not only you have the mental training to go ahead and do that, but at the same time you're able to implement those things, because we already know that knowledge is not power. We already know that self-development is not going to do the just for you if you just listen to it. You got to go ahead and take massive action, right? That's one of the things that Bill Gates talks about, right? He says, I was at the right place at the right time, but Microsoft wouldn't exist if I wouldn't have taken massive action. So that's what I tell people right now, is the fact that to train those systems and to be able to go ahead and get you to that level, it's a day in and day out. Every single day, you've got to go ahead and do those things that are not negotiable if you want to succeed in business.
Now, there's a question I want to ask. We don't have to include this in the interview. Okay. But one of the things I found really fascinating was that when you were a kid, you got kidnapped in Colombia by guerrillas. Yeah. And they kidnapped you and they held you for ransom to your family. Right. And they were sending parts of your body to your family, like your toenails and various things. And it was pretty traumatizing. And then you came to America and you developed a whole new life. Now, I know that when people experience trauma of any kind, one of two things happen. One, it kind of torments them for the rest of their life. The other thing is they try to utilize it as a source of empowerment. Now, there's many other ways to do it, and I've never experienced anything like that before. I'm wondering how that affected your personal life and your business life, or if you want to skip this question altogether.
No, that's fine. In fact, that's actually part of my big story that I have. Is when I was 8 years old, I was actually kidnapped by Colombians, and my grandpa was actually a accountant for the state, and they accused him of money laundering, and they kidnapped me. And when people think about kidnapping, it's not like the way you see it in the movies, like where you're in like a dark room full of dirt, tied up. It wasn't like that. I was at a house, like a very nice house in Colombia, and I would just watch TV every day. But it was on the 7th day when they brought me in and they actually pulled out my toenails. Like a day later, they actually burned me with acid on my foot. I have the marks to go and show this. But going back to the question that you asked me, to be honest with you, and the reason why I moved to the U.S., by the way, was there was a second attempt when I was 11 years old because I had moved countries. So for me, it was one of those things where it never affected me in a negative way. Obviously, Colombia is the last place that I want to go to, even though my girlfriend's Colombian. It's the fact that it was those things that drove me to be successful. See, it was those things that oftentimes I feel like too many people live in disillusion, where they talk about their goals and all the things they want to do and all the things they would love life to be like, right? And everybody talks about the one day, right? Like one day life's going to be like this. Well, what I do know is that there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's not one day in the week, and you got to take massive action. So for me, what it was when I think about those memories, memories, it was the fact that that fear itself, because it was fear, is what drove me and lifted my life up towards where, even with financial situations, right? I came from a family where, we would go down and we would go up financially, all the time, because my parents were entrepreneurs, and I didn't want to go back to that life, that part of my life again. I didn't want to come back to a life where it was maybe, it was seen as dishonest, and that's why I could have maybe put my kids in jeopardy, right? Even though I don't have any kids and all that stuff. It was those things that really drove me to be successful in my life. So for most people, they get this, they become a victim of their own thoughts, and actually multiply that in their reality. But for me, it was those things that drove me to a whole new level in my life, towards where I can look back at that and be so grateful the fact that those things happened to me. Obviously not grateful at the moment that they happened, but grateful right now because of the fact that it was those experiences that shaped my life and have the kind of success that I've had now.
That's a great aspect of how you would view something that is so horrible.
Right.
At the same time, I'm taking a class at Harvard about reparative justice. It's kind of like a vigilante justice class, but it's not called vigilante justice. A lot of it is storytelling. And you're here telling your story to kind of like share what happens so that people could relate to it and learn from it. And there's a process that could be potentially of either going through a process of forgiveness or a process of just learning. And you kind of took that and you went through the learning process of how to learn from that trauma and kind of like expand it and frame it in a different way. And it's really interesting to hear that. I think that a lot of the experiences in my life kind of parallel that, because I've had a lot of suffering and experiences that I'm going to share as well from various things that have been wronged to me. But I think that everyone has those times when they're wronged, whether it's in the business world or in their personal lives. And when times get really tough, it's really difficult to try to find hope.
Right.
It's difficult to also find the motivation to work.
Right.
So I'm wondering, what is that power coming from for you? Where is that core passion and motivation coming from?
Well, I was actually told, I promised myself years and years ago that I would never have anything in my life or anyone that would actually break me or make me, right? See, one of the things that people use experiences like the ones you and I have had or experienced, is they use that as an excuse of why not to do it, right? For example, if, I've seen it where, mothers will get, their son or something happens tragic to them, where maybe their son gets killed by a drunk driver or something, and they hate life, they get depressed, they get this, and all these things happen, their life goes in a viral in a negative way. Yeah, there's the one woman who had that experience where her son was actually killed by a drunk driver, and she started that organization called MAD, right? Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, right? So therefore, the very few people that utilize those disadvantages and utilize them as unfair advantages, then those are the people that win the biggest in life. Because those are the people that actually use those things, use those experiences to be able to maximize your life in every way, shape, and form. And that's exactly what it was for me, is that one point I told myself, I will never ever use this thing as an excuse to lose in life or to ever blame somebody else or something that's happened to me, for me to look back into my life and say, you know what, I should have, could have, but I didn't. And therefore, I'm going to go ahead and win big. It was really more of a choice. And it wasn't just a one-time choice, but it's a daily choice, right, that you look at every single day. I'm a very goals-driven type of person. I read my goals twice a day. I have them in my pocket. I think about these things that I want to go ahead and have, and that's one of the things that I tell people all the time. You got to focus on your goals, on the things that you want, with a date, right? But that's besides the point. But yeah.
I think the thing of goals and objectives and suspenses, the thing about these things is it's a higher purpose, something that motivates you. I think that's also why people will do things like marathons, Ironmans, and races that kind of pushes them so far physically, mentally, spiritually, but they're doing it for a higher purpose, because I think as humans, we kind of seek that. If you watch movies of romance and violence and adventure, you always identify with the hero and root for him because he's fighting for something he believes in that's more important and more powerful than himself.
Right.
Now, in Real Social Dynamics, one of the things that pushed me to keep moving forward was this vision that Owen created as the higher purpose to help our clients in a deep way. And I also felt motivated because we had so many people in my company whose lives were dependent upon our success, who were loyal, who were focusing on building us and helping Owen accomplish that mission and goal. Now, when you're an insurance company and you're a business, Did you have something similar?
The moment that I realized the fact that people could really change their lives, let me tell you this. At the very beginning, when I first started, I was very money driven. I was like, I want the money, I want the success, I want the cars, I want all that stuff. And, it was one of those things where I got it, but I didn't ever feel like I made it. And that's kind of like the conversation that you had, that I had with you when I met you. But see, you look at my life right now, it's changed completely because of the fact that there's so many things of those checklists that I've already written off, but that my life right now is by a different purpose right now. Right now at this point in my life, I'm not really driven by money or even books for that matter. I think books are very important, but I'm not driven by them. Right now, what I'm driven by is people. So therefore, one of the things that I have is a crusade, right? Because at the end of the day, what you want is you want people to look back at your life and their association with you, and for them to look back and be like, you know what? And that's exactly what I want, is where they say, you know what, I'm a better person because of my association with Adam Farfan. I'm a better person because of my association with his company and the culture that is created, right? So therefore, one of the things that is important to me, it's the experience that people have when they associate themselves with our company. That's the way that the world is right now, right? If people had $10,000 10 years ago, they would invest it in a nice TV or a huge TV or some sort of electronic. But right now, if people have $10,000, they want to invest it in an experience. They want to travel somewhere, have a new experience. They want to experience something new. So for right now, our company is very lifestyle driven, where the lower law is just the products, and the higher law is the experience that they get to be and the things they get to experience with, when they come through our company. So that's what we incentivize them with monetarily, things like Rolex and watches and like private jets and all these things through our company. But the biggest thing is the transformation, the journey that happens to them when they go through our company. So for me, that was always that's right now the living, just the driving force in my business right now is changing people's lives to the better, which is exactly that. I know that you're in the crusade by doing this stuff too.
Your networking skills is something that is built over time, but it's something that you kind of designed and engineered just through hitting the field at an early age, because you're continually introducing people. And in the same sense that we do cold approach in terms of trying to how to pick up girls, you were doing that in terms of going door to door, knocking on doors and meeting people's sales, or getting them to come to a presentation. And where you have the RSD free tour, you had your version of a free presentation to try to help people. And then you got people that were really good at what you were doing or just believed in your product. Kind of like how we hire our guys from interns and made them into payroll. You kind of did the same thing and then turned them into agents. They're working on a commission structure and growing the company. It's really interesting to see how you do that in business. What's interesting about what you're doing, though, is that you also did it in your personal life. You did things like build a completely different kind of business, a business that wasn't about a financial product, but about girls and modeling and fun things like that. And I'd like to hear why.
I think the reason why is because I think I apply the same type of principles in my life. It's one of those things that I've learned years and years ago, that how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And for me, it was one of those things that I wanted to try things that were new, that I never had experience with, but I knew that if I had the same philosophies in business, it would work the same way. That's why you could see a guy who's a professional athlete be most disciplined and be good at most sports, right? Because it's not so much the kind of sport that he plays, but it's the kind of like just the fact that they're just an athlete, right? So they could play pretty much any sport. So for me, it was that I consider myself an athlete in my profession, where I can go ahead and pretty much come in and get into any industry, apply the same principles and philosophies, and still turn that business into something greater. Because of the same way that I do business is because at the end of the day, it all just comes down to people, right? Whether it's a service, a product, it just comes down to people and how they feel, the transformation process, and the value that they get out of all that. So therefore, it's those core values that I can go ahead and come in and be able to build any business. And that's one of the things that I feel like I've also found myself to have with some of my closest friends that are extremely successful. The fact that, if you listen to most interviews that you have, the thing is not, the key success factors are not that much different, right? It just goes back to work and work ethic and this. And it's really interesting because most people are expecting to have like a different answer, right? They're expecting to have like this different recipe for success. But it just comes down to the oldest trick in the book, which is hard work. And that's pretty much what did it for me, and a combination of a couple of things. But
there's a lot of things that you had to do early on in your age in order to develop a mindset. Yet at the same time, most Americans, and most people everywhere in the world actually, but we're in America, so most Americans really don't have that process to design their life in a way to give them this clarity of purpose, vision, a mission, and then establish like goals and actual items to actually take that and make it something concrete.
Right.
So what would you say to somebody that is somebody who doesn't really know what they want? What do you say to somebody who doesn't really know what their goals are, what their mission is, how to take things to the next level, how to build relationships? Like, what do you tell somebody who says, hey, you know, I'm like the guy who is in college, but I don't know what I'm going to major in?
Right. The one thing that I'll tell you is the fact that by being a soul searcher, does not make you any money. I have never met somebody that's ever been a soul searcher making millions of dollars if that's how they started. So therefore, my question to most people is, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? So therefore, what you do is you first find things that you're passionate about and find ways to capitalize on those hobbies, right? So therefore, for example, if you like certain things, well, if you want to make money at it, you're not going to make money at it by just playing with it and by being casual. In fact, what I've known is that anybody that, when you do things casually, you become a casualty in life, right? So therefore, one of the things that you got to do when you first are trying to figure out what to do is there are already good things that you are already naturally good at. What I tell people to do is find those things that you don't have to be great at everything, right? But you don't have to be good at everything. But I know people can be great at just few things. And it's those things that you got to go ahead and find out, figure out, evaluate. And the one thing that most people don't know is the fact that they're so caught up in trying to figure out what to do that they don't ever think about, what should I do? What should I be doing right now? Where's my place? Where's my spot right now where I need to be? Because of the fact that most people forget that there's seasons in their lives, right? If you're going through a breakup or you're going through a time in your life where you're going through school, it's not going to be like that forever. Just like you are not going to stay in that same age forever, right? So what you need to do is you need to figure out the fact that whatever time and whatever experiences or negative things that you're going through, it's only a season of your life and it's not everything. So what you have to do is, if you're trying to figure out what to do or where to go, I'll tell you this, by just watching this video should be the research, should be like, if you're looking for a sign of where to start, this should be it, right? Where you're like, okay, you know what? I know that. Ask yourself one thing. It is something that I tell anybody to do. Ask yourself one thing. Has thinking the way that I've been thinking my whole life, and has been doing the things that I've done my whole life, has gotten me to where I want to be? And if that's the case, then you need to go ahead and change those things. Because most people will tell you, I feel like it's kind of foolish when people say, be yourself, right? Just be who you are. Just be, being who you are has not gotten you to where you needed to be. And that's the one thing that I remember Dexter, the first guy that I ever really met. I was sitting at a chair just like this. And, he says to me, Adam, you know what? For the guy that's gonna make millions of dollars, the guy that's gonna have the great lifestyle, the guy that's gonna have the kind of woman that you feel like you want, and the kind of guy that's gonna have all those things, it's not gonna be you. And I remember I felt so small when he said that to me. He's like, it's not gonna be you. And I said, I was just shocked for like literally just 10 seconds. It seemed like an eternity. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, because you've never done it. You've never done those things that you say you want to do, so therefore you can't expect to do them, right? But it's a person that you could become that could do and be those things, right? And what you do is you start getting sharper, right? Your mind, your mental, your brain is like a muscle, and you have to exercise those things every day. I'm not the kind of guy that cares to go to the gym every day, right? But at the same time, I'll tell you this, you got to go ahead and work on yourself and your mental strength every single day to go ahead and do that. And the best way to do that is by really having things that you listen to that are better than you. Who do you admire? Who do you look like? So what I have for myself is a mental mind alliance, like a mastermind alliance of people that I want to be like people that I haven't met before that I would love to meet, right? And oftentimes these people are like people that are not even alive anymore, right? But because of the fact that I've read their books, and because of the fact that I've read a little bit of how they think, I ask myself, what would they do? If they were in my case, what choice would they make? So therefore, if you're wondering what you should do, there's somebody that you admire, and ask yourself, what would they do? Would they be wasting their time like the way I am right now? Would they be soul searching the way I am right now? What were they doing at my age, right? So therefore, for me, it's one of those things right now that the moment I started thinking about that, it's really like, it's crazy right now. Like I came back to work after so many years, and really one of the things that changed is when I was with a good friend of mine, multi-billionaire. We were on our way to, we were selling out to San Francisco, and I was complaining about this company that I had helped out. And he says to me, do not complain because of the fact that there's something that you can do about it that you are not doing. So therefore, you can change those things, but you're not changing yourself, and you're not doing those things. So therefore, you don't have the right to complain about it. And at that moment, you know, the next day we had conversations about it, and I realized, I'm like, man, there could be so much more that I could be doing in my life right now. There's so much stuff, because it's a season that I went through in my life as well. And right now, like, I'm after it, I'm back in the game. And I'll tell you this, so going back to what you were saying, is that you cannot procrastinate and be a soul searcher forever. It's just not, you're gonna get older, you're gonna get more tired, you're gonna go ahead and get lazier by nature, naturally like that. So therefore, those are things that you cannot afford to have or to do in your life.
What is the process you go through to recruit these people into your life that are those people you call your mastermind group?
So people that I have, for example, right now, I've been really good pretty much creating friends, right? Like one of the things that I always told people since I was much younger, what you got to do is you got to turn a stranger into a friend, friend into a client, client into some starter that you could do business with. It's those 4 steps, right? So for me, the first time that I meet somebody, I put them in a category. What are they going to be in my life? You know, and that's the same thing that I'll tell you, that if you're dating somebody, that's the thing that you got to do. The first date or the first 2 dates, you got to be like, either it's somebody that's going to be like my main person, my main girl, somebody going to be my friend, or somebody that I'm just going to have fun with, right? So same thing I do with my friends. There's people that I want to go ahead and that I meet, and automatically I'm like, I want to be their friend. There's people out there, I remember this happened just 2 weeks ago, where I was telling my assistant, I don't know this guy, but I want to meet him. This guy named Darren, right? And this is a guy that sold his company for hundreds of millions of dollars. And, you know, within that week, I was having breakfast with this guy, and he's like, what do you want from me? And I'm like, I just want us to be friends. I'm like, I thought about you and I being friends before I even came here. So the biggest thing you can do for me is give me your friendship, and I'm willing to do whatever you want for you. So he kind of laughed. Yeah, we have now a texting conversation pretty much every day because of the fact that I was honest about my just what I wanted, right? So therefore, those are the things that you got to do. At the very beginning, you got to evaluate what you want that person to be as, and be transparent as far as the things that you want from them, right? Like, for example, when I met you, I knew that we were going to be friends for a long time, right? I told you that. We became friends. We went to San Francisco, right? Here we are, like, I think almost 10 years later, right? That's the way that it was. And that's the thing for people. Right now, the biggest thing that I feel like I'm the most proud of right now is the quality of my relationships that I have with people. And that's in my personal relationship, that's in my family, that's with my friends and stuff like that. And the one thing that I'll tell you that you got to have is loyalty. Loyalty to your friends to the death, right? That's the one thing that I feel like most people don't have. They're very much driven by opportunity. And I'll tell you this, in the world that we live in right now, you cannot win just by being driven by opportunity. You got to be driven by loyalty. And that's one of the things that I'll tell everybody to go ahead and have in their lives.
Yeah, I was reading a comment on my YouTube channel. It's kind of like the concept that you appreciate instead of hate. It's the concept that you are somebody who is having that mentality that you're there for other people, and you're there having their back, as opposed to there who are just trying to get something from other people. And the concept of friendship is so powerful. It reminds me of the TV show Entourage, where Vincent Chase is with his agent, Ari Gold.
Right.
And he says, you know, Ari, you're my friend, right? Because, you know, I can fire my agent, but I can't fire my friend.
Right.
I think he said it to E, actually, not Ari, because he viewed Ari in a very different way. But he was his manager. He said, I can fire my manager, but I can't fire my friend. And so true. When you're interacting with people that are very successful, the concept of genuine friendships, people who are not there for any other reason, but for some reason, your friends just end up helping you, and you end up helping your friends.
Yep.
So having powerful friends end up helping you in a very powerful way. But the concept isn't seeking friendship for that opportunity. It's the fact that you're coming from the frame mindset that even if you don't get anything, you're still willing to be there for this person. And that's so powerful.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the challenge that you face, though, is that so many people aren't the kind of people that you want to be around. They're the kind of people that may suck the energy from you.
Right.
They're value leeches. People that are not positive. They're just kind of like adding that negative vibe. Low vibrational energy is what Tyler's mentor Glenn calls it. Now, in terms of how you filter that out, what are you looking for when you're looking at making really good friends?
I remember, the first rule that the first way that I ever learned this was when I had gotten myself into the industry, and there was this guy that had all this potential, right? And this guy comes into my company, and he's asking me for money. He's asking me for a loan, an advance of $5,000 because he was desperate to work. And he says to me, Adam, you listen, I'm your best guy. I'm your number one guy. I'm this, and this, and this, and this. And I had never come across a situation before. And, I asked my mentor, and he says to me, borrow money to the people that don't need it, because those are the people that are always going to pay you back. But never let somebody borrow money who needs it, who's desperate for money, because that person's where they're at because of a reason. And he says to me, what you have to do is you have to apply those things into your friendships. See, for example, for me, I have to be very, very secluded as far as the kind of friends that I have to pick from in my life. So the one things that I have to do is, if they're negative, if they're not that successful, if they're, at those things, I cannot really spend that much time with them. It's not that I don't want to. It's the fact that I just have to be very, very careful as far as who I associate myself with. In fact, most people will tell you, don't judge people. But I'll tell you this, the only way that you can judge somebody is by the kind of friends that they have. That's the only way. You know how they say that if you hang around 4 broke people, you'll be the 5th. If you hang around 4 rich people, you'll be the 5th, right? Who you surround yourself with is the most important thing. So for me, it's those things that I'll tell you, the fact that you have to know and you have to really identify what those people want from you and what you can want from other people. For example, for me, with the kind of friends that I have, I don't really need anything from them. They don't really need anything from me. It's more like, hey, we're just friends because of the fact that we love the game or we share certain passions. And because of that, I've been able to go ahead and build a really great network, right? So therefore, it's all those little things that happen that, that I feel like even sometimes even privileged stuff, and it's because of the fact that, I've never asked my friends for any of stuff that that they can't. I don't need anything from them, nor do they need anything from me. But if we happen to do something for each other, it's just more out of love or out of care or out of loyalty, like you said, right? Not out of just pure basic need, right? So those are the things that I think about as well.
One of the other things I found interesting about you is that one of the most important people in your life in terms of business is actually the woman you're dating.
Right.
So you're training her on how to do business, and she's listening to you as a mentoree. Yet at the same time, you have this chemistry whereby you have this, physical, mental, and spiritual and emotional aspect tied in, where opposed to other people that are just doing business.
Right.
The business is not so emotional. It could be something that's more just about making money, but there's connections, there's relationships. Now, I've seen situations where a lot of people who work together can do it successfully, but I've also seen the exact opposite happen. What's allowed you to actually do that successfully?
And see, you've seen that with different relationships that I've had as well, right? Where, one of the things that it's really interesting because my philosophy of a woman, I don't believe you can find the perfect woman, but I believe that you can find a woman that can become perfect for you, right? So the way that I am is, since the very beginning, I see, those basic things that do they have that I did, right? Were they willing? Were they excited? Were they happy? Did they have a happy attitude? And were they eager to learn, to win, right? And if they had those things, it was just the same thing that I apply in my business, right? Is I would talk about it with them and I would ask them, in a perfect world, what do you want? You know, even if we're dating, I still treat my business life as my dating life. It's really no different. I can honestly tell you this, the same way that I am with you, I'm not any different with whether it's girls, whether it's, my family, I'm not any different. I'm the same guy. And the one thing that I talk to them about is, what do you want, right? In fact, if you look at most Batman movies, right, a while ago, I think it was last month, I was coming back from Florida, and I was like on a 4 or 5 hour flight, and I was pretty much a big Batman. And the one thing that I saw the pattern is that when he meets the Joker or when he meets the Penguin, he meets all this, the bad guys, he doesn't try to get to know them. He just says, what do you want? See, so what I've learned is that you don't never know a person until you know what they want. So therefore, finding out what it is that they want, it gets you to a whole new level of them. And for me, that's exactly what I do with them, where, for example, right now, most girls that I've dated in my life were very, very successful. And I tell them that, right? I'm like, I'm attracted to this. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And if you're not at that place yet, I want to be able to come to the point where you and I speak the same language. So therefore, what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to help you, or I'm going to get you to that perspective to see things the way that I do, for us to live in the currency that I live in, and for you to be able to actually have the kind of conversations that I do with my friends. If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to make this happen with you, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hold you by the hand and make these things happen together. Genius and magic. Magic happens in every relationship that I've had. That's why I've had really powerful relationships, and that's why I can go ahead and date, like right now. And not only that, but by helping the girls that I date make a lot of money, it builds up their confidence, right? Like, for example, a girl, right now the girl that I'm going out with made 80 grand last month. So what that does for her, it's like, holy crap, her confidence, she's excited, we're able to travel, we're able to do all these cool things. Like just a couple of days ago, we took out a yacht so we can go ahead and hang out for my birthday, right? We did all these cool things because of the fact that we see that eye to eye. And the moment they have a taste of success, I'm not talking about dating somebody successful. I'm talking about like having a taste of what success is for them. Then what they want is almost like very addictive. They want more and more and more and more of it, right? So therefore, for me, it's that when I do that even with my friends, right? My mentor said to me, you got to go ahead and have people that are where they're close enough to be your friends, distant enough to be able to lead them, right? Because that's what happens. So many people mix too many things up. And you can't ever be like, the bad, because all of a sudden if you're a friend and you don't know how to lead your people, then all of a sudden you can become an ass, right? Or people expect things from you. So you got to go ahead and have that level of distance that I still am able to have with people after many, many years myself.
On a side note, are you going to that yacht party that's being hosted by our buddy Don in New York City on July 4th?
No, I'm going to be actually at Big Mike's Malibu party.
Okay. So I'm going to that event, and I'm going to be interviewing Bill Walsh.
Got it.
Bill Walsh is our sales trainer, sales manager. He's also known as the Rainmaker.
Sharp,
really, really sharp guy. I think that a lot of the skills that he has in terms of sales are for the public speaking, in terms of like doing it in front of a large audience. Whereas with you, you're doing this one-on-one kind of experience in terms of connecting with people and trying to do it fast and trying to close a deal.
Well, we're doing it all online now. So
are you really?
Oh yeah. So where people can see the academy and they can see it. Yeah, doing it the way that I used to. It's the old school way. All I'm doing now is actually pretty much putting everything that I've ever done online, where people could see all those things and how to be able to reflush and how to be able to go ahead and build those relationships and all those things step by step towards where they're able to do it. So yeah, it's great.
Now, how are you taking those skills from the face-to-face interactions, that old school method, to this new school way of doing it in terms of online?
The way that I'm able to do it right now is by really a lot of customer-driven support, where I see their comments, I see what they want, I see what they like. Maybe there's things that are not clear to them. And what's cool about it is that they're able to still see me live, or they see me once, one weekend a month. We call it Shark Weekend. And on Shark Weekend, they're able to go ahead and really ask me questions where I teach them, help them develop. But I'm able to do it now this in a much larger way. And because of that, right now we've broken production that we've never had, ever, because of this online stuff that we're doing and bringing in a lot of different partners, mentors, and stuff like that for them to learn how to make money in the financial industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing that leading, that communication process through a certain kind of means. But is it like social media? Is it through email? Is it through YouTube?
No, what they do is they go through a membership site, and they go, they come in and they're able to go in and see all the videos, be able to go do content. They're able to go in and also call me and do all that stuff where we have interaction, but it's not as much where I'm spending one time with one person, like I used to. Now it's more like I can go ahead and have a conference call of like 100 people. I can go ahead and use Zoom and have like a bunch of people that are live that are watching my face. I'm able to go ahead and come in and train them in a much larger level. And that's because also the nature of the business has also switched, where now there's so many better products that are out there where you're able to go ahead and have those things and be able to maximize the online tools. And right now our business is more of a hybrid. We are becoming the only financial company that's innovative. I think it was 2014. There was a report saying that the financial industry was the least innovative industry in the world because it's old. You look at most websites that are financial companies are old. They attract old people, right? With us, we're selling lifestyle. So therefore, we attract a lot of people that are younger to be able to help people financially that are older. So therefore, my target niche is between 18 to 35. That's what we're going for right now, where we teach these young little hustlers how to do it. We're also starting our own foundation called the Young Hustlers Foundation, and to be able to fund money for little kids between the age of 13 and 18 years old. We know they got great ideas, and we can raise capital building that. So, yeah, man, it's great.
That's cool. I like the idea of getting back into giving and philanthropy. Yeah. We created something called RST Foundation, which was to raise money for Falling Whistles, which is helping those people that were former children's soldiers rehabilitate, learn, and educate through having internet in their neighborhoods. But thanks a lot for the interview. This has been really cool to experience.
Absolutely, man. And share. Absolutely. I'm excited, and I'm excited to see everything that you're going to be doing together. You have one of the most powerful networks in the world, and I feel like I've learned a lot from you when it comes to terms of relationships and being able to build those long-lasting relationships as well. So I'm grateful for the fact that I could help, man. Cheers.
Yeah, it was inspiring, bro.
Thanks.
If you guys enjoyed today's interview, check out the RSD Founders Club. It is a comprehensive program where I will break down everything that I know about networking, business, success mindsets, and relationships. And if you also enjoyed this interview, you'll get plenty more with some of the best mentors and mastermind members, from my strategy mentor to the people that I trust within Real Social Dynamics to deliver amazing concepts and content. Also, subscribe to my channel and get a lot more value